Welcome to Tanked Up, the podcast about video games and beer. I'm Ben.
Hey.
I'm here with Lucy.
I'm Lucy, hello.
Hi. I'm here with Aadil.
Hey.
Hey. I think it's episode 210. I should have done that before.
That's what I saved
the
the
names,
file as, so it has to be now.
Yeah, that's it.
There's no way to.
That's it. Irrelevant of what the actual number is, it shall now just be 210. Let's crack open some beers. Lucy, I'll come to you first. What have you got?
I have got a oldie but a goodie. From what I can remember, it's been a while. I have Millionaire from Wild Beer Co, which is a salted caramel chocolate milk stout. 330ml can. One of the orange cans. Well, one with orange print, or black can, orange print. It's 4.7%.
I thought it was higher than that.
I think there's a novel one. It's similar to Millionaire. I don't know if it's got like, because they have a few of these where there was one that was like an imperial stout, wasn't there?
Yes, yeah. There was a billionaire as well, I think.
Yeah, I think maybe that's what you're thinking about. But yeah, this is 4.7.
Nice.
But yeah, it's a milk stout rather than imperial or just straight up stout. So
yeah, crack
this open.
Good. As you said, you had it before. I haven't had it for a long time.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's been a hot minute.
Aadil, what are you drinking?
I am drinking the Lake of Stars, Full Circle Brewing Company, collab with Brewgutter. Sorry, there we go. It is 4.5%. Global Gathering, a project to help impact lives through clean water, known as Lake of Stars, as lights dance from fishing boats on the Lake Malawi. I think that's what the lovely sort of boxy art is about. But yeah, say 4.5% pale ale.
Quality. Good to see some more Global Gathering beers kind of still around.
Yeah.
Nice. I am going to kick off, I think, with this one because it's a little bit lighter. I'm super looking forward to this. It's a collaboration beer from Amundsen and Finback. Never had a beer from Finback before, who are a brewery over in the States. And Amundsen always make great beers. This is Fade to Green, a New England IPA. It is, if I can find the percentage, 6.5%. Doesn't give me a huge amount more than that. Just where it's brewed, the ingredients being water, malted barley, oats, lactose, hops and yeast. Doesn't tell me the hops, I don't think.
Yeah.
Has got a best before date, which is December. Doesn't give me a can date, but I have seen it around for a little while. Yeah. So maybe it gives a year, something like that, I would guess. So
I had that in February.
Okay.
And I really enjoyed it. 4.75 out of 5 on Untappd, I rate it.
Ooh, nice.
I love Amundsen beers.
Yeah.
They're really good. They're always fantastic. Especially
they are.
I think they did a whole range of just like weird like dessert stouts, and they're all fantastic. Yeah.
I don't think I had any of those, actually. They did them in smaller cans as well, didn't they? 330 cans?
Yeah, after the fact that I think they did. Is dessert in a can from them? Is it Amundsen who do that? I'd have to check, but yeah. I remember going to Tilt in Birmingham, which will hopefully still be here after all this is over. But yeah, they just had like all of their beers on it. It was like, you know, Imperial Stouts, double IPAs, and that was an evening.
Nice.
Yeah.
Was it a tap takeover? Or
yeah, it was just a Munson, nothing else. There might have been one or two other beers, but yeah.
Nice.
So good.
Nice. How's your beer this evening?
I don't know if I was quite in the mood for a milk stout. It's very light, as you'd expect. It's Got a little bit of sweetness. I think honestly it might be a bit too cold at the moment, but I'm definitely getting, you know, quite a bit of chocolate, to be fair. It is sweet. I mean, it says it's got caramel chocolate, and it's a milk stout as well, so I imagine there's going to be lactose in there, which is giving this, like, coaty feeling as well, so... I don't know, I don't think I was quite in the mood for this. It was just something that I dug out of the fridge, but...
I always remember it being a very rich flavour.
Yeah, yeah, because that caramel and that chocolate mixed in together, you are getting quite a lot of richness. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure everyone, well, for people who haven't had Millionaire at this point, it is a good beer, it's a decent beer. You know, it does everything it says on the tin. It's a milk stout, you're getting that lightness, you're getting slight coffee on the aftertaste, and that's nice. That bit of bitterness, it does balance out that sweetness at the start, and that carries on through the middle, but yeah, there's not really much to say about this.
Yeah, it's fair.
It's a good milk stout. Yeah.
I think it's in Marks and Spencer now, in the can. I don't think I've had it in a can. I think when I had Millionaire and Billionaire, they were
In
both
bottles,
bottles.
Yeah, I think that might be the last time I had Millionaire. But I do remember that it might have been the Billionaire that I did think that was very oversweet and very, very thick and very. It was a bit overbearing, so I'd probably go for the Millionaire over the Billionaire if I had a choice.
Yeah.
Just because the flavours are a bit more subdued in this, it's not as sweet, but yeah, it's a really good beer. It's just nothing amazingly glowing about it, but it's a good milk stout. Can't complain.
Nice, good. Aadil, how's the Global Gathering beer from Full Circle?
It's got a lovely fruity aroma, a little bit of tropical and some stone fruit.
It's very light.
Yeah, it's quite hazy, but like a yellowy, slightly orange yellow. I think you can't tell it's my lights. The head poured. I mean, I tried to pour on camera, and I'm sure you can check this on the replay, and failed miserably. But it's quite thick. Like as I was adding, I had like an ice cream style mound on the top as it filled up, so only the outer shell had actually dissipated. That's an excellent beer. It's really light. It's a good pale ale, but it's got those tropical notes go all the way through. It's got definitely a little more pineapple in the taste. And as it fades off, you get a little bit of pininess with the bitter. And slight, I want to say apricot maybe, but very slight. And that part dissipates pretty quickly. Its finish is not too wet, but a little, so you get to enjoy that bitterness without feeling dried out. And yeah, that tropical flavor, it lasts longer than I would have thought. And you can tell it's a pale ale, not an IPA, because that bitterness just sort of doesn't linger. It's there as the strong fruitiness fades away. And then it sort of also takes a back seat, and you're just left with these tropically tones afterwards. Really, really tasty. And like, if I was outside in the lovely weather we had today, I would have just banged back a couple of these easy. It's like a very good early summery beer. Has some heft, but really drinkable and refreshing.
Quality. Have you had anything from Full Circle before? Because I've seen them sort of doing the round. You know, another brewery kind of doing the rounds on the socials at the moment.
I don't think I have, to be honest. But boy, is it hard to remember all the beers. Because I'm an alcoholic. No, yeah, I don't think I have. I've also seen them pop up here and there, and like I said, it's one of the reasons why I grabbed it on my order from Bottles and Books a couple of weeks back. It was just like, yeah, sold. I'll try this out.
Nice.
I actually didn't even realize it was a Brewgooder collab until I got it. I just was like, I've heard good things about Full Circle. Yeah. That's one. It's a pale ale. Let's try it out.
Nice. Cool. Have you had anything from Full Circle, Lucy?
No. that is one that will go on my list, my long list.
Nice. Yes. The list that never gets shorter, only ever gets longer.
Just like the games backlog.
Yeah.
Let's not
Beer
talk about
backlog
that
kind of it isn't really a thing, is it? Beer backlog, because people stop brewing stuff, small batches of things. Okay, stuff makes the rounds maybe once a year or every kind of, a couple of times a year or something. But the beer backlog just kind of stuff does disappear from it, doesn't it? Really?
And there's a lot of beers coming out every single day, new ones. So it'd be impossible to keep up.
It would.
Unless you want liver failure.
Which we don't, because there's too many beers to enjoy. This Amundsen, it's got a nice tropical nose. Big tropical nose. It's super.
There's no head on it. It looks
There's
like
no
juice.
head, and it barely poured with much head at all. I'll pull it back a little bit. A little bit more yellow, a little bit more straw than I think the camera conveys. But super sort of thick looking.
Like THICC.
Did you?
Ooh. That's nice. Little piney bitterness all the way through that, straight from the start. But you've got those tropical fruits in there, backing up that bitterness, that piney element to it. They come through a little bit slightly stewed, perhaps. Rather than it being sort of a sweet tropical fruit, they're kind of pushing against that bitterness a little bit, with a bit more of a slightly stewy, slightly bitter nature to those tropical fruits, as well as that kind of piney bitterness on top of everything kind of running through. It's very, very easy, even with that bitterness to it as well. Same as the Leviathan that I drank, that had that bitterness, that heft to it. This definitely has it as well. What was it? It was a New England IPA? Yeah. So you're getting those tropical fruits, you're getting that big bitterness to it. It's actually really wet, sort of in the taste, and you get to that kind of point where the fruits have dissipated from the flavour, and it just dries out. It's kind of just, the bitterness lingers, but it's kind of there right at the back of the mouth. Everything else has dried out. And I'm thinking, I'll have another bit. And 30 seconds later, I'll have another bit. And 30 seconds, it will be gone.
Yeah.
As with every beer we seem to drink. I don't know how we do it.
We just pick the right ones.
Yeah, it's
exactly
years of expertise.
Yeah, discerning taste.
Yeah. I think it was quite, I say low, it wasn't low, it was over 6%. 6.5%.
Okay.
It does feel a little bit more boozy, I think, than that. That slightly stewy, bitter tropical fruit to it makes it feel a bit more alcoholic than it is. You could mistake this for a 7.5%, 8% beer, definitely. Especially with it being such a big flavour as well, and then it really sort of packs a punch to it. So I get kind of the name Fated Green makes sense, has that nice piney bitterness sort of all the way through, maybe a little sort of earthy element kind of creeping in there just on the back end of those tropical fruits as well. So lots going on with this, very, very well made to flow through everything while still keeping that bitterness all the way through. I'll stop talking about this beer and just drink it now instead. We shall move on to our topics for this week. What everyone would like to discuss. Where should we start? Because I know some of us have got a little bit of crossover from what we've been playing over the last week.
Animal Crossing. No, I'm joking. We're not going to go there.
I think we'll wait for a guest or someone else who can give at least a different perspective on how they interact.
That's a good idea.
Plus, no, I don't want to talk about that game.
I think it'd be the same with Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
Until maybe one of us has either finished it or we have another guest on who has played it. I think our conversations about that are just going to be the same as they are in the last few weeks.
I just wanted to give you a few heart palpitations, Ben.
Should we should we start with Streets of Rage 4?
Yeah.
Because I played quite a lot of it.
I
You played it as well.
Yeah, I finished
Ooh.
it.
I am incredibly jealous of the twos of yous.
You can play it, mate. It's on Game Pass.
Oh yeah, I can get Game Pass finally. Maybe that'll be my
PC.
Is it on PC Game Pass?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. God damn. PC Game Pass.
Nice.
Let me just open a tab.
Does PC Game Pass, before we talk about the game, would PC Game Pass allow... I remember sort of mentioning this in the Discord. Is there any cross-platform play with the online element? Like, can PC... even if it's Game Pass, PC players, can they play with Xbox players at all?
I don't think so. I think it's a separate... I don't even think it's Play Anywhere, as in I pick it up on Xbox and then move over to PC. I don't even think it's that. I think it's a separate client and download and everything like that, so...
I just did a quick search and it seems like it is not cross-play.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I don't think... There is no cross-platform play online in any version either.
Okay.
So that's a bit...
Fair.
One day we'll get there. We'll get there one day.
So I'm playing on PlayStation. Lucy, you're playing on Xbox, and Aadil will be playing on PC?
I played on PC. I played on Steam.
Okay.
You got a code, right?
Can Steam and Game Pass people play with each other?
Absolutely not. And I started playing again on Xbox today just to pick up a few achievements for my reward points. So,
although the Steam version might be remote play, I wonder.
Yeah, you said it was. I don't know what that means. Still, it still confuses me. Something about.
I said I saw a post, but now, it's remote. So basically, do PSA on remote play. The time, briefly, but you want to play with someone else. They don't own the game. They have, if they have Steam, and it's a remote play enabled game. You basically click invite, right click on their name in the Steam list and say invite to play a game. They say yes, and then it streams the game to them, and it takes over one of your input devices. So if they have it's really built for gamepad-y games, because then if they have a gamepad, it emulates through Steam that you have a gamepad plugged in, but it's theirs, and it comes over. And so, but
is this online? Like, you don't have to be. Do you have to be on the same network or?
No, this is totally over the internet. Like, I played Lego Indiana Jones with my friend Diane, and she doesn't have a gamepad and a Mac, so she just used the keyboard. So if I wanted to, I could touch a key on the keyboard and really fuck her. I'm like, nah, you're moving left now. But I tried not to troll. But basically, because it's basically a game that's not. It's local co-op, but it's emulating or sharing input devices. But if you don't have a gamepad, it can't add a new one in. So the only thing is, if you want to play with someone without a gamepad, they have to be the keyboard person.
Yep.
Which for me on a Lego game was fine, because like, cool, I can use the gamepad.
I couldn't imagine playing that game for mouse and keyboard.
Oh,
God awful.
She's a trooper. But it worked fucking phenomenally well. Even on, actually, Lego Indiana Jones started to really wig out, and I stopped being able to input for some reason. When we moved to Lego Batman, it worked flawlessly, but I assume that was just a hiccup, because I can't imagine that, like, even though Indiana Jones is super old, like the engine's basically the same, so I can't imagine that game padding maybe game padding on those older Lego games is just bad. But yeah, it works really well, and so that means, for example, I could play Streets of Rage with Lucy over Steam if she wanted to play with me. She could just invite me to a remote session, and I'd have my gamepad and she'd have hers, and we could play.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't even have to spend the £1 on Game Pass.
No,
what's super interesting.
A very good way of doing that, especially with Streets of Rage 4, which I feel is probably much better playing as a multiplayer experience.
Well, yeah, but also it's great because a lot of these games just aren't online multiplayer games. They're just local multiplayer, and it's like, guess we're playing online together, and also you don't have to buy it. It came out in November 2019 with like very little fanfare. It turns out the Jackbox games are also remote play. But I think given that I end up playing with more than one other household, I think the way we've been doing it, which is Discord streaming, is probably better. But like, that's also a thing. If you want to have two households and want to play a Jackbox game, you remote play together. You don't even have to worry about having extra shit. Like you have Steam, so that's where the game is. You just click, and then basically the two households have computers which have the full screen version of the living room screen, and away you go.
Nice.
Yeah, because then you wouldn't have to stream to Twitch or something like that in that case.
Yeah. So like we've been doing, because Discord's live streaming is just like if you're on the Discord, you can tune in. That way you don't have to have it public. And it's also and that's worked really well. Because I'm sure some of the people we play with might not want to be streamed to whoever in the world shows up and participates in the audience.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, so that's remote play together. I think I'm gonna try and get more experience with it with other games, just because I've got like my friend Damien is currently in Monaco, so it's like can't play games together. But he introduced me to Stick Fighter, and it's like actually we can play Stick Fighter. Poor Diane was stuck with mouse and keyboard Stick Fighter when I was just trying remote play together out, and it's all. I mean, it was like I said, it was the latency lag, even on a twitchy game like that, super great. I mean, it's also like it's hard to tell how skill and Stick Fighter. Yeah, but like it worked with her keyboard, except she was using a keyboard, which was fundamentally the worst thing to do. But it seemed totally playable. I just so I'd like to play more with that, because I think that's actually Valve putting value.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And for no reason, like they could easily have been like, you have to own it.
Yeah.
Nope.
So maybe if we get time, we can talk about Streets of Rage 4 next week. Maybe a little bit more in depth if you and Lucy get a chance to hook up and play together.
Or
at some point, kind of over the next. Yeah, all that. But like Lucy, you say you finished it. I think I'm maybe a third, 2/5 of the way through, roughly. I don't think I've hit the halfway point yet.
There's 12 stages in all.
Okay, I don't know what stage I'm on. I'm fighting Shiva, whatever that stage is.
Are you talking about M7 again?
Shiva?
The martial arts guy that he sends out like copies of himself. Sends out copies of himself which can hit you. So they're sort of purple copies, and then they can hit you.
That guy called Shiva.
That's an old. There's an old school Streets of Rage. I mean, that's a very Streets of Rage thing, because it used to be one of the bosses.
Same character.
It was the same character. The guy with the claws.
I don't remember.
He like
claws.
Yeah, but he would attack, and he would sort of lunge, and then he like two more of him would come out, and they would do the lunging motion at the same time.
Two more of him definitely comes out. I don't know if it's the same moveset.
Yeah. Yeah. I assume in the new one it would be a little more. Hey, we can actually have autonomous / different things happening with the clones.
Yes.
Yeah. I'd say you're
literally cloning the sprite and going.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say you're probably about a third of the way through then.
Yeah.
How
do you feel about it, Lucy?
I really like it. I mean, I finished it, which is more than I can say for any brawler in probably the last 20 years. Like, they are like, gameplay-wise, I enjoy them as much as the next person, but they are just very like, I'm just mashing the same button over and over again. I'm just mashing Y. Or, well, I pay them gamepad, so X, all the time, just to do standard moves. This has definitely got more to it than that. In terms of the gameplay, it is more ranged. It is more, about crowd control and putting yourself in the right place at the screen, which the old games did, but you're definitely given more moves. I played as Cherry Hunter for the whole game, and then on subsequent playthroughs, just knocked it down to easy mode, tried out the other fighters. I unlocked the Streets of Rage 1 characters.
Cool, nice.
And
could you talk more about like the unlocks and progression of the game?
Yeah,
I know there are like character unlocks and stuff, but as far as like the trailers, all I've seen is trailers, and it's just like these are the guys we brought back, and you play a Streets of Rage game.
Yeah, and these old characters are old characters from the older games, and they're actually portrayed in their like 16-bit pixel art style.
Really?
So,
that's amazing.
Yeah, and it works really well. Like, it's got it's amazing how they just incorporated these 16-bit sprites into this. I really like the art style in this game. In this, cartoon, hand drawn, really well animated
It
brawler.
looks really good.
Yeah, and they just fit right in, like frame wise and like input wise. They just work really well. But in terms of unlocks, it's on a point based system. So the more times you play a game, play the game, the more times you play this stage. The higher your score is. It's sort of got this like lifetime score. So
yeah, it's like a cumulative score, isn't it, across like every playthrough.
Yeah,
oh, cool.
And like you unlock characters, say when you hit 1,000,000 points overall, or 10,000 points, or whatever, 20,000 points, 30,000 points, you unlock Adam Hunter from the original game or whatever. So that's cool because it's like, oh, I don't have to, like clear the whole story as Axel. I can just replay stages, keep accumulating points, and then unlock them. But yeah, my favourite character was Cherry because there's a few new characters. I think it's Floyd and Cherry in this game.
Yeah.
Who have different movesets to the likes of Axel and Blaze, whose proportions in the new game looks. She's not anatomically correct, but
Oh no.
none of these characters are, but she definitely isn't. But yeah, I like what they did with the new characters because let's face it, like Axel Stone he's like Ryu. He's just boring. He's just there,
Yeah.
He's like a rectangle with a head.
Yeah.
He's more like Ken, isn't he? Because he's blonde.
Yeah, true. Okay,
He is
but
blonde.
basically the base character, and it's like I like Cherry's moveset because she was quicker. She can do a dash. Floyd can basically grab two characters and smash their heads together and stuff like that. So there is like, okay, we've got the old characters for nostalgia's sake, but I'd say the newer characters are more interesting in terms of their moveset.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I played, I think, with Blaze first for the first couple of levels, and the first time I lost all the lives and had to start that level again, I switched to Cherry, who I found to be a little bit quicker.
Yeah, definitely.
And again, she has that run rather than that kind of that dash or juke or whatever sort of some of the other characters do. I switched up from Cherry to Adam after I'd unlocked him. Played through with him for a little bit, and they do all feel just that little bit different. You don't get stats or anything like that as you did with with these older games. This is my strength is 3 of 4 bars, my speed is 2 of 4 bars. It doesn't give you that kind of information. It just basically says here's 4 characters, pick one.
Well, I mean that makes sense.
And then play with them, and if you don't like it, choose another character and replay that stage.
That makes sense from a game design point of view because they've got what am I trying to say? Oh, because of this like progression to just play, so it's not like you feel like trying a new character is losing things because you're still earning points, right?
Yeah.
That's what's smart.
Yeah, what I really like about this game is like the assist system. So it's like if you die in a stage, you obviously have to restart it from the beginning, but you have these assists, so you can basically have an extra life, but your overall points tally is like halved. And stuff like that. So you basically have these handicaps, and it makes the game a lot more approachable for people who are not used to old school arcade games where it's like, no, I have to start the stage all over again, on the same difficulty. Because I think there's like 4 different difficulties.
5,
easy,
I think,
normal,
actually.
like hard, super hard, or whatever.
Yeah,
I just played on the base normal difficulty, and that was fine for me, except for there was this one stage, Ben, I don't think you've got to it, but basically you're slipping and sliding all over the place, and that really annoyed me. So I was like, and it was quite a long stage, and I was like, the first half of this stage is absolute bull, so I'm just going to, use an assist. It's like, I'm barely getting over D ranking anyway. So my score getting cut in half, it doesn't really matter. The highest I got was a B on like stage 8. That's it.
Nice.
Yeah, and it's like,
But
I
again,
don't care.
having that cumulative score it makes that kind of assist system feel, worth it. You don't feel like you're really losing out by having a poor score for that stage, because you can just move on through it, go to the next one, and then just go and replay the stages that you enjoy. With different characters, build up your score in different ways, depending if you even want to bother with that and get kind of those unlocks.
Yeah, I've been replaying stages after I finished it,
Yeah.
so no, for sure.
I mean, that's
Nice.
a testament and a half.
Yeah, it's kept you engaged further than just running through it and putting it down. So
Yeah. I think it comes back to that like whole moveset. Everything feels more fluid. It doesn't feel as stiff as the older games. You are still like moving up and down on the like, what's that, the y-axis or whatever it is. So it is like, I think that was my biggest problem with the game. Sometimes you couldn't tell if you were going to connect a punch on that axis. I guess it's the x-axis, because who cares? But anyway,
the x is this way and the y is this way.
I know that, but I'm trying to think. It's like latitude and longitude. It's like
you're moving up and down.
If you're moving up and down, it'd be the y-axis.
But then you don't know if you're going to hit across.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
So yes.
I think it's,
but
I think that's
you're meant to be like this, but you're kind of just here.
Yeah.
And you punch, and it kind of just misses them. Whereas you needed to sort of be like that, and you would sort of connect.
Yeah, which has always been my problem
on the y-axis.
Yeah. This has always been my problem.
It does feel like you need to be quite precise with those parts. Yeah.
They've always kind of been like that.
Yeah. It's always been an issue I've had with the genre, but what I like about this one is more like
that problem, right?
Yeah. But in this game, it's like you can like juggle enemies if you get a good enough combo.
Yeah.
Which I really like. Like in not just Streets of Rage, Final Fight, whatever. You hit an enemy and they, just disappear off stage, and you just, sat there tapping your foot like Sonic, waiting for them to walk back onto the stage. And it's like, there's no combo system so much. It's like you can't juggle enemies. I mean, it's more difficult in this game than like your typical fighting game, but you're still able to do that. And then, if you get all of them in a row, you can get like a mass of them and juggle them and just, knock down their health. And there's other cool things like throwing like knives and crowbars and stuff like that, and it bounces off the enemies, and then you can catch it midair and stuff like that. So that's really cool. And
because as soon as you throw it, it's kind of gone, and only like small things you could throw.
There's a nice amount of nuance and little touches where it still feels like an old school brawler, but they have modernized it where it's not more approachable, but more fun in my opinion.
No.
Yeah, absolutely.
My big question that I've been waiting for this game is, I'm pretty sure Eddie's unlockable. And have you unlocked him and played as him?
Who?
The skateboarder little brother.
Oh, right.
Eddie Hunter. Skate Hunter.
Yeah.
My favorite character in Streets of Rage 2.
You should have just said rollerblades, and I would have known.
I imagine he
know,
can only be unlocked with the Streets of Rage 2 pack, right?
Yeah, because when you unlock characters, it's basically the Streets of 1 characters in a block, and then I imagine I haven't got that far, so I don't know. I did see a kangaroo tending a bar, so...
Yes, yeah. I think
who knows?
It's the Streets of Rage 3 grouping. It's his Streets of Rage 3. Like, I did a quick Google, and they listed him as Eddie Streets of Rage 3. So I guess he's been.
It's been a while.
He was in Streets of Rage 2, though.
He was in 2. He introed in 2 and was in 3.
Right.
Okay.
So I mean,
he was been
the old guy.
30 years, so I can't remember any of this.
Who's like the old kung fu master?
Shang's son. I don't know.
Probably is Shang's son.
Yeah. Sorry, I saw that Mortal Kombat's getting like story DLC, and I just saw a headline, and I'm very hyped for that. If it's true, but yeah.
Was that 11?
Yeah, which is very good, by the way. Story mode is Fantastic. Anyway,
Yes.
what do you think of the soundtrack?
I like it.
That's
And I
where
think
I'm at.
it's sort
It's
of-
okay. It's okay.
Like, I'm trying to get some of the I'm trying to remember some of the tracks, and I think
That's the problem.
it fits quite well, but they're not memorable.
Agreed. Yes.
So they just kind of they set the scene quite well.
It doesn't
But
feel
it's
as
maybe-
gritty as Streets of Rage.
Yes, absolutely. It
soundtrack.
doesn't feel as gritty. Yes, that is
It
exactly
feels like this was made for your 9-year-old kid brother or sister, whereas you're the teenager playing those gritty, grimy Streets of Rage 2 soundtrack.
Right.
Yeah, but yeah,
I think they've definitely made it, or not made it. They've absolutely put a focus on like the animations and the art style and things like that, and how it kind of plays with with those animations, with that precision in kind of like the gameplay and stuff. Like the art style is very memorable. Okay, yes, I played it yesterday, so it's fresh in my mind. But now, if I'm thinking of Streets of Rage, I'm thinking of that comic book, that really heavy black-lined, really well-coloured art style of Streets of Rage 4, rather than thinking of the pixel art style, kind of gritty, grimy game that the games that came before it.
Right.
And I think this art style will, if they get the chance to make a Streets of Rage 5, I think this art style would kind of persist through.
Yeah, it's like
But it's
cel-shaded,
sorry,
right?
it is kind of the art style of that studio, though. 'Cause
Yeah,
I know they
the
made
Wonder Boy,
didn't they? Which is very, very similar in its art style to this. So it's definitely it suits kind of that studio strengths, but it suits this game completely.
I agree. I really, 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 really like the art style. That takes a lot to take away from, not take away, but almost make me forget, as you said, Ben, about the pixel art. That very heavy nostalgia drawn feeling that I have towards pixel art. So I didn't miss it at all in this game. So. It's very pretty. I mean, the soundtrack, it's, as you say, it's not memorable, which is a shame, and because a lot of what Streets of Rage 2 for a lot of people is that soundtrack.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's fine, it's serviceable. They got the, original composer to do a few tracks on Streets of Rage 4, so it's not like they didn't do what the community asked for. So it just doesn't hit that much. But as you say, if there's a Streets of Rage 5, I think that's the area to improve in, whereas everything else is pretty good.
I wonder whether it's maybe that change of art style as well has affected that mood for the music too. You can have a certain kind of music which fits very well with a pixel art sort of style, and if you're trying to emulate that, but you have a different art style, you may adjust the music more to fit with the art style and the mood, the atmosphere that you're trying to portray, and maybe that was a little bit of detrimental to the music in this instance, perhaps. That they did try and push it a little bit more, so it was a bit kind of more fluid. It wasn't quite as grimy. To fit with that really grungy pixel art aesthetic that Streets of Rage has.
Agreed,
The original games have. So
because this does feel more light-hearted. I mean, the the kids of Mr. X are. What is it, Mr. and Miss Y or something?
Yeah, yeah.
The Y twins. So, it's goofy, and that does fit the art style. But hey, there's still guys charging at you with knives. At the end of the day, so.
Yeah, I really like that all of the original bad guys. It's the ginger guy with his denim fucking jacket on, with his cut off sleeves. It's the punks in their big jackets.
Just people you want to punch.
That slide in at you. Absolutely. Yeah.
Can't stand those.
I've really liked some of the bosses as well. There's that guy in the motorcycle yard who's just this mustachioed man.
It's Freddie Mercury.
It almost is like a supercharged Freddie Mercury. Oh, and as soon as he sort of took his jacket off, I'm like, I want to punch you in the face right now. Yeah.
Yeah, but I like the boss variations. And it is like one of those like old classic games where it's like, oh, I need to learn the moveset. I'm not going to be this person on the first time, but I learn the moveset, and then the next time I jump into the stage, I know what to do. I know when they're going to go aggro. I know when they're going to, charge. I know when they're going to throw and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
it's got that nice learning curve to it, and there's a nice variety to the stages as well, which I like, both in terms of art style, setting, and just the other random things that you have to do, like when you're on top of a train and you have to like jump every now and then.
Ooh.
Oh, sorry, I thought you'd...
Oh, no, that's good.
I thought that was an early stage. Sorry. I didn't want to
haven't
spoil
done
that for you,
yet.
but yeah, sorry. Oops.
The Shiva stage is the one where you fight through a little bit, and then you get to a set of rooms, and you move into a room, and then like 25 of that ginger denim jacket guy charge at you, and you move into the next room, and then the same number of the shirtless guy with shades and his pants around his bum, coming at you, sort of thing. So that's kind of where I'm sat at the moment. But it's just Shiva. Just seems I just cannot quite get past where he replicates himself, and essentially just like fills the screen, and I just got to get out of the way. I think one of those things is that Streets of Rage wants you to be aggressive. It's got that combo system in there. It wants you to keep fighting, but actually you've got to be a bit more thoughtful and strategic during the boss battles, and know when to make your hits. You cannot just take through that aggressive stance that you've had through most of the stage, which is good. It gives you a little bit of a breather, but it's getting into that mode of being bam 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 bam. Oh no, wait, hang on, I need to now think about this. Step back a little bit, let them do their charge attack or a little area of effect attack or something, get out of the way, and then go back in, pick my punches, pick my timing correctly on this. So
I think I'm just playing it. I was always in that mindset. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I haven't played Brawler for a while, but like once I died on one stage, I knew like, I need everything is more considered, more thought out, definitely, than just going in and mashing the Y button. So, which I like, because that's a big criticism that I have of brawlers. It's like it's doing the same thing here, Yeah, but this is a lot like about crowd control and being in the right place, and like when you enter another, screen, it's like, okay, I know where this guy's gonna be. I know where this guy's doing that annoying free kick into my face, triple kick into my face. I know where this guy's going to be. I know where to position myself as soon as I get onto this stage, and I like that it's more considered and more tactical. So, nice. and it has that Bloodborne thing where it's like, oh, if I do a special move using the Y, or I guess it's what the X
triangle
button, or triangle, then it takes on my health, but I can regain it back by hitting the enemy. I never do that, because it's like, sometimes it's like I don't know if I'm on the right axis to hit them, and if someone just comes off screen charging at me with a knife, I'm going to lose all that health. So I tended not to use the special moves, but apart from the big special move that doesn't take out, that's cool.
There's definitely more to talk about. But maybe once you've had a bit of a play, Aadil, we can return to it to get your thoughts on it, and kind of you've done quite a deep dive, almost review of it, I think, so far. But maybe we can get into it a little bit more on a future episode once you've had a chance.
Yeah, maybe once I've had a crack, and one or either of us have gone to the end to have like two people with closing thoughts.
Yeah, it's honestly more than I'd ever thought of thinking or talking about a brawler. So. It's done. Right. It's done well. It's done well in my books. Yeah, it's
absolutely
good. Yeah,
good. So, should we move on?
Yeah.
I think first, how's everyone doing for a beer?
I finished mine, surprisingly.
Good. Let's open another beer, because mine just flew back.
Yeah, mine did too. What can you do, right?
Yeah,
I know. Absolutely.
It might be unfair to mine beginning, but I did finish it fairly quickly. So.
I mean,
it is a 330ml can, isn't it?
It is, but something that's like very sweet, and
yes,
it's still a really good beer. So I didn't get that across before. There it is.
Good. What have you got next, Lucy?
I have a beer from Attic, who recently started canning. Probably maybe like 3 weeks ago or something like that. It was very recently. And it's this mess that we all find ourselves in. But I got a 12-pack of a beer they did in collaboration with the Brom Beer Babs, who are a group of women who, hold meets, hold pub sessions, brewery tours and runs
Nice.
across Birmingham, encouraging women to get into drinking, which I have no problem with.
Hang on, no wait. Encouraging women to get into beer, maybe not
Yes.
drinking.
Hey, I'm sure any drink is on the table, to be honest. Come on. And this is called Forward, and it's a tropical IPA. It's 5.8%. It's got a nice picture of them all on the can.
Nice.
Hops, Idaho 7, Mosaic, Citra, and Eldorado. Yeast is WLP 644. Brussels whatever. It's free Brussels yeast. Unfined, because hazy is fine. It is indeed a collaboration between Attic Brew Co and Brom Beer Babs for International Women's Day 2020. Using the motto of Birmingham, it's a tribute to the beer world moving forward with its inclusivity, our city's brewing scene expanding, and to the women who make up the Babs. A tropical IPA with a funky twist, brewed to be enjoyed for everyone.
Nice.
And that's it. It's a 440ml can. Yeah, I can't wait to visit their tap room again when it comes back.
We did go there when we were up last time,
We
didn't
did.
we?
We did.
We did, yeah. I do remember it was on the edge. We went inside, it was sunny. We came out, it was dark. I think that's what I remember.
Hey, you remember things? Good.
Yeah, we were there for a while.
Yeah. Aadil, what are you drinking?
I've got from the White Hag Brewing Company, which is in
Ireland.
Yeah, Ballymore Company. Wow, this is hard to. Yeah, it's in Ireland. 5.5%.
Ballymorgan? I don't know.
Well, it's just the commas in the company versus spot place.
Ballymore.
It's not. It's Ballymote. But it says Ballymote Co. Sligo, Ireland.
Dublin. Yeah, we got it.
It's in Ireland. 5.5%. It is the Dark Druid salted caramel pastry stout.
Did you say 7.5 or 11.5%?
Lucy?
Or did I get that completely wrong, Aadil?
Oh, I said 5.5.
Oh, 5.5. Okay, I heard 11.
No. This is a So this is the salted caramel pastry stout. Don't know what to expect. Whimsically, on the winter solstice, the shortest day of the year, the Dark Druid would cut the mistletoe that grew on the oak tree and give it as a blessing. Oaks were seen as sacred, and the winter fruit of the mistletoe was a symbol of life in the dark winter months. We present to you our handcrafted winter lifeline, where sweet, decadent, and luxurious meets Atlantic sea salt infused rich caramel, also known as dessert in a can. So it's an older can, but I figured, the hell is a pastry stout, basically?
I've not had one. They've been around for a little bit, haven't they?
Yeah.
They just taste like pastries. I don't know. I've definitely had one. I don't know what the meaning of the moniker is, but there you go.
So, I know, Aadil, you have had this recently. I'm drinking from Arbor, Tiny the Welder.
Ah, yes.
Which is a double IPA, 8.5%. It is brewed with Acuanot, Simcoe, and Summit hops by the bucket load. That is all of the information we get on here. Its best before is in November. I don't believe there's a canned on date on there, no. For Arbor, and I'm disappointed, it comes in a 440ml can rather than Arbor's standard pint cans, which is a bit of a shame.
It's because it's 8.5%, I think.
Yeah.
No, I won't have it.
I agree. I was disappointed, but because I bought it yesterday as a friend came by for a distanced hangout on the stoop, and I can't remember now. The red ale. I bought her a pint of the red ale, and I bought myself the smaller 8.5%. Tiny the Welder, which is probably the same amount of alcohol content, but it's like, no, I don't care about alcohol content. I care about amount of beer, and this is so good. But yeah.
I wanted to say, whilst having this, that it should have been coming up on this bank holiday weekend, East Bristol Brewery Trout.
Yeah.
So I substituted this beer in for another one I was going to drink. Just because I felt like drinking a bit of Bristol tonight. Missing out, obviously, because that isn't going to be going ahead. Something that we've done a few years in a row now. Hopefully it will be pushed to the August bank holiday when they always have another one. So who knows? Maybe we'll be allowed outside our houses then, and people will be allowed to gather in places to drink together again. But
yeah,
I don't know. Also, I've never had what I always used to call Pliny the Elder, but from what I've heard other people saying, it's Pliny. And that makes sense with this being called Tiny the Welder. So
I've never had it either. I've never
Hmm.
had it either. Very popular beer, but no.
Yeah.
Never had it.
Is it Russian River, isn't it? Pliny.
One of them. I take your word for it. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I've never had it. But yeah, it's very much one of those. A lot of people attribute that to being like one of the beers that got them into drinking. Well, especially if you're over the pond. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Drinking craft.
Always one of those beers that kind of are sat above everything else as well, doesn't it? Just for that level of quality that they have on that beer. And it's very much that kind of original small batch release, stand around in a queue waiting to be able to pick up one of 500 bottles that they've made, sort of thing. So, right, Lucy, we'll come back to you.
Yep.
How's your beer?
Mine's sort of like tropical juice. I mean, it is a tropical IPA, so there you are. Put a fairly small white head, probably half a finger. I mean, I wouldn't say it's opaque, but it's quite cloudy. Yeah, can't really see through it. It's a light straw colour, and it smells like tropical fruit juice as well. So it smells like Rubicon.
Oh,
Rubicon mango.
I was gonna say which Rubicon.
That Rubicon mango's the only one I've had. Maybe I've had guava.
The lychee is really good.
Okay. They're very sweet, but yeah, this definitely smells like that sweetness, very very tropical fruity. So it smells great. This is one where you put the can down, you come back after 7 hours, and it still smells great.
Nice. It'll be. I did have the other day where I had some cans sat here from last week, and I came in the room the next day, and you still got a waft. It was the Big Eagle actually from Brew Co. You still got a waft of that beer from the can the next day.
Taste-wise, you're definitely getting those tropical fruits as well. One thing I think Attic does probably better than most of the breweries in Birmingham is definitely getting that fruit across. Like, if they say, oh, you're going to taste peaches in this or something, you're going to taste peaches. A lot of their beers are so fruit forward. I mean, I don't really recall them doing many stouts, before when we could leave our houses. But yeah, a lot of their beers were like, IPAs, but they all tasted distinct enough. And yeah, this is another great beer from them. It's very sweet though. You are getting just like the beer before, you are getting this kind of mouth coating sweetness at the end that you can definitely feel on your teeth and on your tongue, which I'm not a massive fan of, but in terms of it does get a lot of that fruit across. It's got a little bit of pininess, a little bit of bitterness, balancing everything out. But yeah, it's a really solid beer. This is perfect for being outside. It's 5.8%, which is probably at the top range of session, but you could definitely knock back a few of these. you know, in the right temperature and right
Nice.
weather. But yeah, I mean, not really much more to say. I mean, if you've ever had Attic beers, I mean, this is, you can tell it's made from Attic. You know, I don't know how. Maybe I'm just used to drinking their beers, but it's just familiar in that sense. But yeah, the quality of their beers are just so good, and that quality hasn't dropped since their canning or anything like that. They've just moved, you know, continued that quality, and it's just translated so well. So
yeah,
that's a great thing.
Interesting to see how they then adapt when it kind of everything goes back to normal, and they you know, apportion part of what they can make to can, part of what they can make to cask or keg, and how they move forward, because currently they have to can. They got no choice really, unless they do sort of mini kegs or something else like that. But
I'm not sure if they do, but I know others are.
Yeah, so like everyone seems to have adapted quite well.
Yeah.
Interesting to see how that then changes, you know, going forward again.
Yeah, them and Burning Soul both started canning recently, so yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's one of those cases where it's like, yes, we literally have to do this now because of the whole climate of the world, but I mean, it's great to see, and I hope they start being able, maybe later, you know, maybe not too far in the distant future, like start distributing beyond Birmingham, even beyond South Birmingham at this point, so... But yeah, this is a really nice, very light, easy drinking IPA. Yeah,
good.
Full IPA. They've done it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Aadil, we'll come to you. How's the pastry stout?
It smells caramelly, and vanilla-y. There's a bit of vanilla in there too. That's about it. It smells actually a little boozier than you would expect for a 5.5%, but I think that might just be the vanilla and the beer sort of interacting. That sort of alcoholic smell that you get sometimes with vanilla extract. Oh, that's an eye-opener of a beer.
Go back in. Enjoy.
This is good. It's hard to describe. It starts kind of sweet, but it's quite thin and light though in the mouthfeel. And then it fades to a really good coffee-ish, stouty taste, and then in between the main taste and the finish is where you really taste that saltedness in the salted caramel. So it's originally just this is kind of sweet, not overbearing, but it's like, oh, this is sweet. And there's just sort of a lot going on, and I'm not sure what's going on. And as some of the things fade away, you're like, oh yeah, this is salted caramel. And then I was like, oh, this has got a nice, good, solid, stouty backbone. I think part of that initial hit is, let me actually just check. Yes, okay. So this explains a lot. So there is vanilla essence in here. And there's lactose, which explains sort of the sweeter and like kind of confused start. But again, it would say the initial taste, after a few sips, you get used to it, but is just like almost too many things going on. But now that I'm used to it, I'm now that it's sort of coated my tongue and everything, now I'm moving to that salted caramel much quicker, and I'm not having that confused start. It's still quite thin and light. Like maybe that's what the pastry is supposed to say versus bready. Like I think it's actually the pastry is cueing lightness rather than pastry. I was kind of expecting, I don't know. But like when you think of like a fluffy croissant versus a loaf of bread, this is kind of the stout version. It's still quite light. It's very, very, it's thin. It's non-viscous. It doesn't linger that long as far as texture. And it... there's a little bit of that sweetness that lingers along with that coffee. So actually, now that I've let it sit because I've been rambling, the coffee sort of good, hearty, roasted malts taste is gone, and I still have a bit of sweetness left over. It's just it was lighter than the maltiness, and so, which I'm assuming is a large part of the lactose and sugar being in it. And yeah, so that I like the vanilla taste, or the vanilla note that's in this. The nose is still there, but it fades pretty quickly, and then it's got a really like I said, a really nice salted caramel to toffee to just sweet sort of end of the taste curve. So I'd actually say after you sip it, like there's a couple seconds of and there's like, oh, okay, there's some things going on. I really like them. And like that this has lessened now that I'm used to the taste, but it's still kind of there. It's still kind of a confused start, or rather, not confused, but just like really, there's just muddles. There's like the things that are going on. There's one too many of them, and they're not working well together. But then as they start to fade, you get to see the layers of the brew. Yeah, it's good. Yeah, and also because it's thin and light, like a pastry, apparently. Even though it's a 5.5, but it is a stout, it has heavier flavors. So I'm probably going to knock this back quite quickly as well.
Yeah, that's fair. Again, another smaller beer as well, 330ml can.
Yeah, it's a proper standard can, so not going to last.
Yeah, perfect for on the go. Even though we can't
I was
go
about to say,
anywhere.
where
I think you mean on the stay. It's an on the stay beer.
Good. Arbor, Tiny the Welder.
darker than I thought it would be.
I remember it having a much bigger nose than it does. It's got a very, very light nose. It's edging on kind of bronzy, almost a little bit sort of towards a slightly brown, almost reddish sort of tint to it. It did have a little bit more head when I originally poured it, which dissipated quite quickly. But the nose is super light. A little bit of fruit in there, not a huge amount. Some slight sweetness on there as well. And I mean, I've already tasted it, so I'm getting a little bit more from that taste already. But it's got a lot of different odd sort of flavours going on, and they're hard to pick out exactly what it is. It's got this kind of maltiness, really like it just hidden almost in the background, which kind of runs through. But then there's this slightly off sweetness to it that kind of edges on licorice, but doesn't fully commit to kind of licorice, really. Doesn't come through with a huge amount of sort of fruitier flavours, but if they do, they are slightly more, again, like the previous, they're slightly more stewed in how they're sort of delivered, even though there is that level of just sweetness kind of slightly above everything else. And it's I don't know how you found it, Aadil, but it's almost I don't know, it's almost like I've dipped some licorice in some sherbet or something like that. Something that kind of is a really strange mix of flavours. It works quite nicely. I find myself drawn to it, and I quite like this very odd mix of flavours.
Yeah,
but
it is very odd.
What style is it?
It's a dipper.
It's a double IPA, yeah.
I mean, I will say that I'm not sure I quite cottoned on to the house a strong licoricey taste. I was also distracted by having a visitor on my stoop, a good friend who was in person, not on a video call.
Like, let me tell you about this beer. Give me one moment.
But I did notice this weird meld of flavors, and it was like this, like I to the point where it's like, oh, I wish we weren't social distancing, because like you should taste this, because it's not what I expected as far as a double IPA, because there's this weird note going through, which is, again, I will echo you, Ben, that it was really tasty, but it was like, what? But I didn't sort of sit and endeavor to try and figure it out. I get what you're saying now that I think back to it, that it was something anisey, some sort of that family of
exactly, that's what I just thought. It's a little bit more sort of cherry, perhaps, a little bit more aniseed, sort of, rather than licorice, perhaps.
but it works really well with the rest of the beer. I found it really easy to drink, but not something I needed to drink quickly.
Yeah.
So even though it was a shorter can, basically paced at the same same time as Francesca did her pint.
Yeah.
And like I drank quicker than her normally in general. So yeah, it was like okay. This was kind of nice to savor and like the taste kind of lingers for just enough time that you don't need to like, especially if you're like, wait, what was that? You can still kind of, because it lingers long enough, you can kind of ruminate.
Definitely.
Or just enjoy as I did, yeah.
As we were saying kind of at the top of the show, this is one that Arbor kind of put out every now and then. I don't think it's a yearly beer. I mean, it might be, but I've definitely had it, but I don't think it was last year. I think it was maybe a year before, or even the year before that. I don't know whether we've had it on the show before. We probably have. One of us probably has. But it's that idea that okay, they might have a recipe, but they may have changed various quantities of things. This is craft beer, isn't it? Things change, recipes changed, different amounts get put in. Flavor profiles do adapt and change with the times and just with what brewers kind of want to put in. So as we were saying, even with having a list of beers that you would like to try, you might see everybody drinking this one beer and read descriptions of it and think, wow, that sounds brilliant, that's really good. The next time they brew it might be different. So
true that.
However, every game is always going to be the same as it is, unless it's patched.
Yeah, I was about to say, games get patched.
It's not quite the same thing.
If you're getting your No Man's Sky disc out now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
That's very true. No Man's Sky, the 3 days I had it early, before that day one patch, was very different to even the day one patch.
I remember that.
Let alone how different it is 2 or 3 years on now.
It's like 4 years at this point.
I bought that early on PC, and that was in my Madman days in the old place where I figured out how to make my GTX 1080 work on my Mac through Thunderbolt.
Wizardry. I thought you were going to say wizardry.
Yeah, it was basically wizardry. It was just like, I'm bored. I need to figure out how to play games on this shitty Mac. Oh, apparently, with the right weird fucking expansion card, you can use the DisplayPort, the Thunderbolt, as just data run for a PCI slot. And it was like,
wow.
No Man's Sky plays great.
Brilliant.
You're a wizard, Harry.
But in order to make it work, you need to have a graphics card plugged into this bizarre expansion card, which needs to be powered by an actual PC power supply. So you have this like set of random PC parts on your desk, and then you have one tiny cable going into the laptop.
We've all done strange and wonderful things to make it work. Like you might have.
I think I got more enjoyment of figuring that out than actually playing the game, though.
I think I think it's like like when I had to figure out how to play Call of Duty on a Xbox, which didn't have like the wireless or something like that. And it was like changing the subnet mask like every single time, like having to log on or something. Yeah, it was a whole thing, and it was like
networking's the worst.
Yeah,
used to work in networking, boy, is it the worst.
And because I was living in like a shared house, and like people were tampering with the internet all the time. Anyway,
yeah,
the lengths we go to, basically.
Absolutely. Let's move on. I assume that neither of you have taken those lengths to play any games that you have been playing recently. Lucy, we'll come to you. What have you been up to, apart from Streets of Rage 4? What else have you been playing? What have you doing?
I'll briefly talk about finishing Cloudpunk, because I did that.
Oh, yes.
Oh, I've started it.
Another game I'm jealous of. But maybe
How far
not would have
into
played
it are you, Ben? Because I'm just thinking...
not long.
Yeah,
not long
I'm
in.
thinking-
I played maybe an hour, if that.
So,
I've chatted to the dog. I've delivered another AI who was in a box. I think I'm about. Oh no, I've just got into a club. That's where I stopped it. I've
Yeah,
got into
I know
a
what you-
club.
Yeah. So you are very early on, because that game does go on for probably, twice as long as it should. I remember,
Okay.
I remember you saying, Ben, it's like, in terms of when I was speaking last week about the story, where do I think it's going and stuff like that, you did say, do you think it's going to wear out its welcome? Overall, I do think it did narratively wise.
Okay.
I still enjoyed, like, driving around the city, and in, like, the back half of the game, you do go to, different parts of that city and different neighborhoods and stuff like that, which have a different narrative tone, different style to them. But in terms of the narrative, I still don't think there is a through line. I don't think there's a
Right.
A plot to it. There is in essence, but it's like all these other little plots, they don't really connect well to the main plot, and it does feel like the main plot is just like dumped on you in like 3 different missions interspersed between all the other stuff, and it's like,
That's a shame.
yeah, and at the end of it, it's like I really didn't care too much for the main plot, and it's like the secondary plots were, I think, more interesting because they were more self-contained. They were very much, drawing on caricatures of like, neo-noir and, cyberpunk thriller like tropes, but they were, more interesting because they were just like little snippets. It wasn't like, okay, we're going to draw this on for too long. But yeah, the overall plot, it's like, I wasn't too fond of it, but as I say, I still enjoyed driving around that city. It was a point where it was like, I'm just going to chill back and just drive. It's
Yeah. That's a shame because I think currently, still being within the first sort of maybe hour, perhaps.
Yeah.
I'm still kind of in awe of its scale.
For sure.
Yes, like you drive between these kind of small populated areas where you can get out and walk around, but actually it's massive. Moving between the different areas and things. I'm sort of when I first opened up the map, I'm like, okay, cool. I'll be just popping around this small bit, and then it's like, no, there's all of this, and then there's all of this, and there's all of this, and it looks fantastic. Like the way it kind of tonally looks and the atmosphere that it gets. And I didn't maybe pick up on kind of what you were saying last week, but it in a way, it kind of almost frames a few shots as well. So as you're walking around on the ground, the way that it changes its perspective, or that it swings the camera around.
It's like a fixed camera angle, like Resident Evil. Yeah.
Suddenly, it will swing the camera around. You're running along this way. You'll hear sirens, and these police cars will just fly kind of over you. The police hover cars will fly over your head.
Yeah.
And you're like, is that a set piece?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
As soon as I hit this point, does that then happen? Like, and I just thought, but that's really, that's brilliant.
Yeah, it really helps in the immersion. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I love those parts. It's like, or as you say, the camera swings round, and it's like, oh, you see this falling building because the world's gone to hell, and it's like there's just buildings fall over. But because it's a dystopia, nobody's doing anything about it. It's just So yeah, it does have those. It's just like, it's not like a massive set piece in like, oh, Uncharted, I'm climbing up this clock tower and then this happens and everything.
It doesn't. The camera doesn't cut to it.
Yeah,
it just happens in the background,
and it feels, as you say, it feels really natural. You don't know if it is a set piece or it is tailored, so it does do that, but it does it in such a good, convincing way. Yeah. And it doesn't get old even when you've seen it for like the 3rd or 4th time. It's still, because as you say, the scale and the look of it and the whole style of it, it's just, it works really well. And I still think that, yes, the whole the atmospherics and the look of it, that's what carries the game for me, because as I say, I wasn't too enamoured with the storyline and stuff like that, and the voice acting, it really did great on me towards the end. As I say, like, the main voice actress, she can be like, completely flat and then just deliver this one line like so convincingly. It's like all over the place, and for me, like, most of the, you know, sub characters and stuff like that, they don't have the best voice acting. It's disappointing in that sense. I wish it. So many indie games have just like, no, we don't have any voice acting. We don't have the budget for this one. I wish it was like sort of that way, where it's like it's just text. It's like you read this, and you know you
can intonate it yourself in your head. Because
there are some like real. There are some characters, and this world is meant to be like, you know, so it's such a cliche with some of these characters and caricatures and stuff like that, and some of the voice acting for those, it's just like, oh, I'm a, you know, internet celebrity, and it leans into that, but then it just goes over the point where it's like, oh, this is no longer satire, this is just like, the like nails on chalkboard kind of thing.
Absolutely. You mentioned this last week, and I got to a point where I chatted to 2 robots who were part of a gang, and I'm like, fucking hell, this voice acting is like straight out of Futurama. It doesn't fit this like tone of the city at all. Yeah, I'm like, oh, this is what Lucy was talking about. Completely.
Yeah, it's a shame. So as bad as it sounds to say, like, I think there's an option to turn off the voice acting. Don't, maybe not have the VA and just read it. Because it, you know, it might go tonally better with the overall game, but
yeah, and I find myself again having played a lot of games of this kind of scale where I'm reading the text a lot quicker than their voice acting brings it across. So I'm skipping quite a lot anyway.
And the thing is that when you're in the car, you can't skip the dialogue. When you're on foot, you sometimes can, but weird. In the car you can't. Yeah, sometimes I get it gameplay wise, but yeah, it's a bit of a bummer in that sense. But yeah, it's still one of the best looking games I've played this year. I took a lot of screenshots. They're on my screensaver. I think the atmosphere, it's like what I imagine stuff like, you know, like early old games that are like a cyberpunk based, you know, like, I don't know, like the Blade Runner point and click game, or like Beneath a Steel Sky, what they could have looked like in a 3D.
Yeah.
If they were interpreted in 3D, or something like Another World or something like that. So it does nail that cyberpunk kind of feel and atmosphere, but yeah, there are other points in the game where it's like, I'm not saying cut corners, but maybe they did just put a lot of budget and time into the look and feel of it, and
absolutely,
you know, I can't blame them for that. But
because it's interesting to see when they started developing this as well, because it seems like a lot of work has gone into the aesthetic, and that you know, the building of the world as well.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, that's my closing thoughts on Cloudpunk. I do recommend it just purely based on aesthetics, you know.
Yeah.
But speaking of not so great voice acting, I played the game with very good voice acting, which was made even more clear after playing Cloudpunk that this game had really competent and good voice acting. Played a game called The Flower Collectors.
Ooh.
I don't know this.
I wishlisted it.
I don't know this one.
No, it came out like 2 weeks ago, and I hadn't really heard of it until it literally came out. And it's from, I wrote it down, Me Poo Me Games, who are a Vienna-based studio. And I knew I had heard their name before, because they actually made a game called The Lion Song previously, which is I
played that.
Did you?
Yeah, only the first 2 episodes, I think.
It's a very slow, contemplative, meditative, like 2D point and click adventure.
Very tonal in its sort of almost two-tone aesthetic as well, isn't it?
Like tan coloured, but yeah, it's a very heady game wherein it's about artists in pre-World War One Vienna. And I'd only played the first 2 episodes as well, Ben, and actually, playing the Flower Collectors actually prompted me to finish the Lion Song, and I really have a good appreciation for the Lion Song now. But yeah, go play the Lion Song. It's very good.
Is it free as well? The Lion Song.
Episode 1 is free.
Yeah, and I really enjoyed the first episode. The second episode, I wasn't so hot on.
Yes, I think that's why I stopped.
Yeah.
Because the first one was really good and the second one was kind of like, yeah, that's alright.
Yeah, because the first one's about is she a violinist or a musician who's trying to write music? Yeah. She's in an abandoned cabin and she needs inspiration. She picks up this phone line and it's like, she speaks to this other person on the end. You never see this person, but, you know, you get to know their personality and stuff like that. And they give her inspiration to write this, you know, new song. Second episode.
Is that the one where she goes to the hut?
Yeah.
And she's isolated?
Yeah.
Was that the second episode?
That's the first episode. The second episode is about a artist who's struggling to find his muse, his next subject to draw. And that one seemed very slow and plodding to me. The first one's very quick and to the point, whereas the second one opens up this like kind of very small hub of Vienna for you to explore. And it's not one I exactly gelled with, but when you play the third episode and the fourth episode, like kind of ties everything together, and I won't spoil it, but it gives context to like all other 3 episodes and stuff like that. And each episode intertwines with one another, and it's like there's callbacks to characters and stuff like that. So, finishing it, I'm really glad that I did, because it's a really good game. I think you do have to be in that kind of mood where it's like, oh, I'm going to do a lot of reading, going to have to do a lot of, you know, thought, being this very highbrow kind of attitude, because it is about arts and the sciences of, you know, and stuff like that, and what it means to be an artist and getting creativity. But yeah, the third episode is about like the social struggle of a woman who wants to become a mathematician, and it's like, you're a woman, you can't do that, and it's like that whole struggle with that. So I think episode 3 is probably it goes back up to the standard of episode 1 if you enjoyed that. But that's the Lion Song, which was the carry on. Adil.
It's the season pass is $7.99 on Steam.
Yeah,
and then each episode is $3.99.
And it's on iOS, which is where I finished it. So yeah, I imagine it might be a bit cheaper there.
Yeah, but it's also available on Mac OS, but only if you haven't upgraded to Catalina, because it's clearly a 32-bit application. I will stop talking about that, because people are probably sick of me whinging about that stupid thing.
No, you should whinge, because it is a very stupid thing. But anyway. The Flower Collectors, which is a complete departure from the Lion Song in terms of style and genre. Like, the Lion Song is a 2D point-and-click game, whereas the Flower Collectors is 3D, and it's a kind of murder mystery. It's very inspired by Rear Window. The most context I have for Rear Window is The Simpsons.
The movie?
Yeah.
Right.
Rear Window, a Hitchcock film. I've never seen it myself.
Fucking fantastic film.
I've seen Bart Into Darkness. The
yes.
Simpsons episode. So that's my reference.
Yeah.
I do have, it's on my iPad, a stream for Rear Window. I do. This has prompted me to watch the classics, so there's that. But Bart Into Darkness, okay, I'm sure people who know what Rear Window is. If not, Google it. But it's very inspired by that. You play as a grizzled ex-cop who has been retired from the force because they had an accident which rendered them disabled. They are now in a wheelchair, and he sees a murder from across the street, and the whole game centers around that murder mystery, whodunit. Whereas that Rear Window is set in, is it New York in the 50s?
Yeah, something like that. I can't remember what city, but yeah, basically dense populated city, but similar idea.
This is set in 1977 Barcelona, so it's got a different look and feel to it than obviously 1950s New York. And this is, for people who don't know, it's just before the fall of, or is it after the fall of Franco? It's a very nationalist.
After, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a very, I think just out. It's set in 1977, so I think it's just before things started to take a turn into more democratic running of the country. This is very much, they're still in that kind of nationalist, fascist regime, and it's, so it has that, you know, background to it, but it's not overly political. There is, you know, political tones to it, and that does center around quite a few of the things, but it's not overt. That does give it it gives it a nice, you know, foundation to the story, but it's not, you know, it's not like 1979 the revolution, where it is just like, this is what happened, we are focusing all in on the
revolution. Yeah,
this is just very much, this is the flavor, the tone to it, but it is still this whodunit murder mystery, which does.
I don't think you'd mentioned kind of the main, you know, it's set in Barcelona, it's in the 70s, 1977, but there's a big kind of change to that.
No,
and that's what actually made me wishlist it.
No, you telling me everyone in Spain's not an animal person? Yeah, this game has animal people. Everyone's an animal. The ex-cop you're playing as is like, I think, a bear or a dog. I think he's a bear. But you don't. It's played from a first-person point of view, so you don't actually see your character. But yeah, I think it works. It's like,
okay.
The style. I mean, it's just oozing with style. It's very simple in terms of like its assets and the look to it, but it's got a really nice look to it, and it captures. I mean, I don't know if anyone's been to like Barcelona, any part of like Catalonia or anything like that, but it captures that style really well. It's set on like this. You're on a porch, you're on a balcony because it's Rear Window inspired, but you only see like the corner of this like plaza. You've seen like a cafe and a church and a cabaret bar and a repair shop, and that's literally it. That's all you see other than the inside of your apartment, and the colours and the lighting, it just works really well. I don't know how or why, it just captures that kind of like hazy, warm atmosphere of like Spain, and somehow the 1970s. But and it's got animal people, which it may be a case of like, oh, we had, you know, a smaller budget, we're not going to be able to animate human faces, and we're definitely not going to do mocap or anything like that. It may be a stylistic choice, but I think it works really well for some reason. Like,
do you think, because I wondered how political it would get, and whether that idea that they are like anthropomorphic creatures would have taken a bit of a sting out of them, you know, getting really political with it. Whether that was kind of part of the idea of whether they changed it to animals.
That's a good point, actually. That's a really good point, because yeah, when people say politics in games, like, if you're a capital G gamer and just an arsehole, you're probably going to be like, no politics in my games. And they don't realise that everything art-wise is inherently political, but
yep.
I don't know, because they do go in sometimes, you know, maybe a bit too heavy-handed with it. Like, sometimes they are like, oh, you know, anyone from a leftist point of view, you know, artists, poets, it's like they're wrong, and, you know, we want to crack down on people who are like, you know, have different sexual orientations, or, you know, different genders and stuff like that. And it's like, yes, it does go into that, but it's like it fits with what 1977, you know, Spain is. So it's hard for me to say, perhaps, maybe, but it's like they're not shying away from the politics in it. So it's like shying away in terms of like putting animal people in your game. It's not going to do the thing. If you are just sometimes dramatically and heavy-handedly focusing on the politics. I don't know, but I think it's maybe a budget thing where it's like,
Sure.
can't do real people, so we can do animal people. Animal people are cute anyway.
It's fair.
But yeah, I think the voice acting it really carries this game because they're doing not quite a lot, but I think it's greater than the sum of its parts. I mean, some of the animations are a bit stilted. You know, the scope is obviously very small for this game because you're only seeing these, you know, this same backdrop and this same environment the entire game. The kind of murder mystery whodunit thing isn't. There are some branching paths, but it always leads down really the same corridor. And you know you're not having like any LA noir kind of massive branching, you know, interrogation or anything like this. You're taking pictures, you're looking through your binoculars, and you're basically putting these photos on this investigative pinboard. Like,
is there red string?
No, there's no red string. Yeah, because you need to pay more for that red string, but
It doesn't you know, chart out a pentagram across the map or something.
I color me disappointed.
It's very simple. It's very directed, and it's very scripted. There are a few narrative choices where you can, as I say, pick your own decision, but it is really funneling you towards the same ending and the same outcome for the most part. But yeah, as I say, it does a lot with a little. And the voice acting, it's really good, especially the main character, who's kind of reminds me of like Mike from like Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. He's got that kind of grizzled, I'm set in my own ways, but I still got like a decent heart, and I can see the error of my ways, and that kind of you grow to love the main character. Yeah,
I'm surprised. So I did the standard thing. So like I'll just do a quick review roundup because there's like 2 negative reviews, only 1 in English.
Okay.
I mean, there's like 17 reviews total. But this person, Quixocoatl, Quixocaxis. Nah, it doesn't matter. They played an hour and a half and said, although the idea is interesting, and I must say the mechanics did not strike me as being repetitive, the clunky animations and, in my opinion, cringeworthy comments screw up the game for me. I was expecting much more balanced and elaborate after playing Lion's Song, which sounds like you were saying the exact opposite.
As I say, I agree with the stilted animations. Those can detract from the game. I mean, yeah. People have referred to it like looking like Sims like very over exaggerated animations, and I agree with that. For me, it didn't take away. I go into this game knowing like this is obviously on a limited shoestring budget.
Yeah,
it's very small in scope. That definitely does stand out more than anything in the game, apart from this elderly woman who's clearly voiced by someone who's probably like younger than me, putting on an old granny voice. That just sounds.
But I don't know why those people are down there. I don't know why she's American and from the fucking South suddenly like that.
That's another thing. Like all the voice acting is American, but we expect that for like.
Oh, is it?
You know, yeah. They say Spanish, like they pronounce the Spanish words like with a Spanish accent, but it's American voice acting. See, yeah.
Oh, see.
Yeah, and Policia and stuff like that. So Barcelona and stuff like that. But it's like it's very clear.
Oh no!
Oh no! Let's not devolve into. We're gonna get a fucking iTunes review that says the exact same thing as this review.
I did old American woman. I've got the old Spanish woman now.
But I think we're used to that in the Westernized world. It's like, yeah, these Japanese people have American accents. Of course they do. So
yeah.
So that wasn't even detracting for me because it's like I'm used to that.
But I mean, the fact that they said the cringeworthy comments suggests that I'm assuming that's the voice acting, which I was just surprised.
I think what maybe they might. I can't speak for this person, but I think probably what they're saying is more that it's like, oh, there's someone you know, who maybe have a different sexual orientation or gender. Oh, you know, and the Grizzled Ex cop is like, oh, that's bad, or something like that to that effect.
Right.
And you're basically teaming up with this left wing young journalist, Catwoman, who's very much, oh, you know, I'm clearly all the way this way, and you're clearly all the way that way.
Right.
And she's saying, oh, you can't judge people for this and that. And it's like, it very much touches on those things without going into depth. And the game obviously has a stance, and it's very left-leaning, obviously. But it's like, what I've noticed, like, something with, like, Cloudpunk as well, like, where it's this young woman, and, you know, she's basically saying, oh, not everyone from the East is, you know, basically a savage, you know, playing tribal drums.
Yeah,
But it very much touches on that. It doesn't. It's just like very throwaway. It's like, okay, we know what you're on about, but it's the same way if you putting down any opinion, and it's like, you know, maybe you should either go into this more or just not just not even go there, but like, you can't just have something that's very throwaway if you're, you know, wanting to get across your point. You're wanting to make a stance, put a flag in the sand, and just like, this is what we believe in. I don't believe it should be like, okay, let's bang your head over it, or just like make this throwaway comment. So I think that's maybe what they're on about. Some of it's very, okay, we know what your stance is. It's very much obvious. You know, you're talking about a game which is like set on the very precipice of, okay, we're going from nationalism into a more democratic, you know, regime. It's like, that's obvious, but it's like, why make these comments which are like very throwaway at the same time? It's like, I don't know. Politics is very hard to get right in games.
I mean, that's why companies like Ubisoft just don't make political games.
Exactly. It's like they just say, oh, it's not political, it clearly is, and they just don't follow through with it, which is frustrating.
Which is fucking the worst.
And it's stupid. And there are, you know, some instances, I'm not saying it's a whole game in like the Flower Collectors or Cloudpunk, but it's like, okay, you're saying this, and it's like, it seems like you're not ridiculing the other side, but it's like you're saying, oh, this is how it should be.
Right.
Yeah.
This character is obviously in the wrong, but you're not expanding on that, you know? Even though it's something that maybe I lean towards as well, but it's like,
you don't get to
play
that card.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you're not going into a nuanced argument for the other side. It seems like, oh, you're tailoring this game for people like me, and it's like, has this very cynical view. It's like, no, this is the right way, but I'm not going to explain why it's the right way for people who feel the opposite. You're just putting these throwaway comments in the game, you know?
Right.
But that's a whole other thing that we don't need to get into, but so I guess that's maybe what they're saying. It's very heavy-handed in that sense. It's like, without much nuanced argument. It's like, I'm just like, yeah, maybe, obviously you shouldn't judge these people for this and that, but it's like, can't just say that. Well, you can, but it's like, you shouldn't just say that and just be like, yeah, that's it. You know? That's the stance. Even though it's like, yeah, of course it should.
At least it sounds, I mean, it does sound like quite thought-provoking, really, in sort of what it's trying to get across. You know, you've read into this slightly differently to how someone else has. Allows a little bit of openness even with what they're trying to put across, whether it is trying to be super political, whether it's trying to be a bit more open, let's say, and try to show both sides of it. It just sounds very very interesting in kind of what it is trying to convey. And
yeah. I mean, it's as I say, it's a hard balance to try. It's like, this game has got like a 3 to 4 hour runtime. It's not, you know, you're not going to have a thesis on, you know, 1970s Spain. So but it's interesting enough to, you know, it's got that. It's not hitting you over the head with politics, but it's got that nice context to it. It's like, this is how it's set, and this is why the character's motivation is this. This is why your main character is this way, etc., and etc. And I think that's interesting. So, and as I say, like the voice acting takes it a long way, and the story wraps up really nicely. A lot of a lot of games, like I say with Cloudpunk, it doesn't wrap up in the most satisfactory way, where it's like I feel fulfilled. I know where this story went, and I know the end. Whereas in that 2 to 3 hour runtime for the Flower Collectors, I liked where it ended up. Everything there was no like loose ends. It's like there's no stay tuned for the Flower Collectors 2. It's like this wrapped up nicely, and it kept it intriguing all the way to the end. So it's very good.
Nice, good,
sounds solid.
It is.
I realise that we're running quite
long
late, and we haven't come to you yet.
That's fine. I mean, I did my remote play spiel.
Yes.
So
That was
I'm okay with giving you another week to play that game that I was going to talk about.
How far through the game?
I mean, I haven't played it in a week, so I could finish it in the meantime.
Okay.
Hey, it's still me. Look,
Yeah.
quarantine can't make me not me. I love video games in a way that I just don't play them. That's just who I am.
And we love you for it. It's fine.
Yeah. Well, you don't.
Absolutely.
You do you. No judgment.
Always.
Just,
Should we talk about some beers? Oh, go on. Sorry, Lucy.
I just want to give a quick PSA. Because I got a code for another game which is called Fire Escape, which is... I haven't played much of it. It is also a game that you play from like your balcony. It's very limited in that kind of scope. It's from Ink Stories, who made 1979 Revolution, Black Friday. And it's sort of like Rear Window-ish. It's like another murder mystery. But it's like kind of seen as... It's also a VR game. It's kind of seen from like a... like as if you're witnessing a play. Like, there are... You're just seeing this apartment block, and somebody gets murdered, and it's played over the course of 3 episodes. And during the episodes, you can focus like on different apartment blocks, different apartment rooms, and everything's happening concurrently. Like these people doing that, these people are doing that.
Oh, cool!
And it's like, who do I pay attention to during this space of like 15 minutes to see? Oh, what was this person doing at the time of the murder? What was this person doing at the time of the murder? I've only played the first episode, so I don't know exactly how it wraps up. So, but I'm really interested to get back.
What was it called again?
Fire Escape.
Fire Escape.
So I think you're literally standing on a fire escape, looking at another apartment building. But I wanted to.
I assume you haven't played in VR. You're playing it just normal.
Just normal. Yeah, you can play in VR.
So it's from first-person perspective, then.
Yeah.
Do you think playing in VR would add anything to it?
I think it would, because it would make you feel like you're literally like in that kind of like play kind of perspective. But I don't think playing first person just normally detracts from the experience. I think it may feel a bit more immersive always. But yeah, I'll play it more for the next week. But I wanted to give a shout out now because 25% of all proceeds goes to COVID relief from the sales of the game, which is £7.19 for now.
Yeah, that is correct.
Who's it made by?
Ink Stories.
Ink Stories, cool.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I played like the first episode, and it's like, ooh, can't wait to listen into all these.
Well, that's
people.
excellent. That's what you want from a murder mystery style game.
Indeed. It's weird how.
Oh shit! That's who followed us on Twitter earlier today.
Oh really?
Yeah.
I wave at you, even though this is the wrong medium for you to hear it.
Well, I did say I'd give them a little shout out. So.
Yeah,
just
fair.
wave anyway.
Yeah, it looks it looks interesting. I'm very much eager to jump back into that. So.
Good. Cool. So we will finish there. Obviously, we'll come back to Fire Escape. Whether Aadil and I have had a chance to play it, or Lucy has sort of played it all the way through.
Probably by next week. Yeah, I think it's
yeah.
Yeah.
Lots of other things to kind of return to from this week. But we will talk about the beers that we have had. Lucy, you had Millionaire from Wild and something from Attic. What was it? Forward.
And I'm going to go forward and say that the forward was my favorite.
I see what you did there.
Yeah, and it was bad. Yeah, the Millionaires, I was a bit harsh on it at first, but it's probably because I've had the beer several times. It's a good beer. It's a good milk stout. Just probably wasn't in the mood for a milk stout now.
Sure.
No, when am I in the mood for a milk stout? Breakfast, probably. 9 o'clock in the morning. But yeah, it was light. It was a bit sweet, on the sweet side for me. But if you got a sweet tooth, it really won't phase you. It did have that nice sweet caramel kind of taste to it. Definitely chocolate. You got the light coffee notes as well. But yeah, the Forward Tropical IPA, probably just the beer that I was probably more in the mood for, maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got to support local anyway. It's a good beer. It's very light. It's got a nice bit of pininess, light bitterness. But mostly, if you're looking for something that's got a fruity punch to it, then that's the one. But yeah, support local. Support Attic. They were very nice and they covered the delivery charge to me because I didn't realise that it was only a free delivery if you live in South Birmingham.
Oh.
So yeah,
Fair.
shout outs to them. They're very, very nice people.
Good. Nice. Aadil, how about you?
I thought for sure, having tasted both, it would be the Lake of Stars Pale Ale. But actually, the lingering taste and like the fact that even though it has lactose in it, wasn't too sugar forward. I think I'm going to go for the White Hags Dark Druid, the salted caramel pastry stout. I like that it was light as a stout that had a bunch of things going on. My reservation is that it took a while to get used to kind of the muddled start, but I really like the rest of the taste and the finish, and it's just kind of more memorable. And yeah, I mean they're both really good beers, and to be honest, part of it might just be that like I'm now inside and the sun is set, and the Lake of Stars Pale Ale would have been great like 3 hours previously. It's that close. Like I think similar to Lucy. I just don't think I was quite in the perfect mindset for one versus the other. But awkwardly against Lucy, I'm picking the one with lactose in it.
Contrarian.
It's me.
I'm also gonna pick the one with lactose in it.
Contrarians.
The Amundsen and Finback Fate Green New England IPA, which had lactose in it, was just really good. Lots of flavour, flowed fantastically. That bitterness in it was really nice. Wasn't too cutting, but it ran all the way through, and it was that lasting flavour. The fruits played a very good part. It had a malty backbone to it. Lots of stuff going on with that beer, which was really, really nice. Tiny the Welder, whilst it has a very interesting flavour, doesn't quite gel enough for me to think, yeah, this is nice as one beer. I would grab another one. The Amundsen Finback I would drink, I think, probably all the time.
Every day.
It's what I want from a beer. It's got those tropical notes. It's got that malty backbone. It has that bitterness running all the way through it. It's a very good New England IPA. It's a very good beer. So that is. So that again.
You'd have it with your cereal.
I would. I'd have it for breakfast. It's not quite a milk stout. It's not quite a pastry stout, but
You'd.
Fuck it. I'd drink it at 7 in the morning,
Had a Lister.
12 in the afternoon, 3 in the afternoon, 10 at night, 2 in the morning, all the time. Just buy all of them. That's it. I'm not going to drink anything else.
You know what? I wouldn't say no.
What did what did you think of it, Lucy? If you can remember, I know you said you had it a little while ago. But...
I remember it with that pininess and that earthiness, which you said. Yeah, maybe it's because, as you say, the green can. It just reminded me of that. But yeah, I was just like, this is the right amount of bitterness and pininess, just to. Yeah. I like very piney beers.
Yeah.
Bit of earthiness, make you feel earthy and dirty. Good stuff. Close to the.
I just want to feel dirty all the time at the moment. That's it. Haven't showered for days.
What the fuck's a shower?
Yeah, man. Oh dear. We can't really blame COVID for that one, but we're going. So that's us this week. If you want to get hold of us, we are at Tanked Up Cast on Twitter and on Instagram. You can go to and should go to outoflives.net to listen to us, to see our faces, to read other articles. Aadil, you and I put up a chat over the top of the new Assassin's Creed Valhalla trailer.
That's correct.
Where we just discussed what you can see, what you get from that trailer.
Like it. I assume. I didn't watch the trailer.
You should watch it, Lucy. Watch it.
Really?
Mark Hamill's in it. He makes an appearance.
Really?
According to
strangely.
yeah.
What? Who's he?
That's tanked up canon now that Mark Hamill is in Assassin's Creed Valhalla. You'll see what we mean. But yes, go to outoflives.net to look at all of these other things and comment and engage with the community. You can find the Out of Lives Discord as well and come and chat to us about beers, about the games that you're playing. You should do that and search for us and comment and review us on your podcast service of choice. I am at Nova_47 if you want to get in touch with me over on Twitter, on PlayStation, if you fancy playing some Streets of Rage 4. If you want to play some Streets of Rage with Lucy, on Steam. I was going to say on Xbox, but it's on Steam, isn't it, that you're playing?
Yeah, we can play.
But you're the same everywhere.
Yeah, I whore about. I'm due to do something on all the platforms. I'll play Streets of Rage anywhere.
Nice. Yeah. Good, do it. And if you want to, Steam, what's it called? Is it Steam Remote Sharing?
Yeah, remote Play.
Yeah.
Steam Remote Play. If you want to do that with Aadil and connect with him through Steam, he is at the Omniarch. I'm not even going to let you say it this way, I'll just say it for you. Almost everywhere. I'll let you outro it, go.
And we've been talking about
that was good.
Ciao.
I like it. Yeah, look what happens when I shut the fuck up. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just made sure I was rated M for mature on that last F-bomb.
www.outoflives.net